What's up, everybody? This is Chris with Reason for Believing channel. I actually wanted to redo my testimony that I gave a few days ago. It's about an hour long. I get it. That's hard for a lot of people to do. So try to make this one definitely half the time. Condensed version. And this is my reason for believing in the Messiah, in Jesus Christ, in Yeshua. I came to faith about 7 years ago, and it was a very long journey. I never went to church a day in my life, never knew anything about Jesus. Nobody ever preached the gospel to me. It was very foreign. I grew up as a pretty good kid. I got good grades. I was actually a really bad kid, not gonna lie. Kindergarten, first, second, third grade. I was getting in trouble a lot, slapping kids, stuffing toilet paper, paper towels down the toilet, having everything overflow, stuff like that. I got good grades. I was a smart kid. Tried to put me in gifted classes when I was in third grade. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an anesthesiologist. I had the potential to do that. As time progressed, as I got older, as I got into higher grades, as I got into middle school, I started to really deviate from the academic side of things. I still got really good grades, and I still really excelled at the standardized testings. By the time I was in 12 years old, I started smoking weed. I smoked weed for the first time when I was 12. I started smoking on the regular when I was about 14. I had a couple older brothers. I got into what they were into. There were big kids in the neighborhood, and that's what they did. So that's what I did. By the time I was 14, I had smoked weed with cocaine on it, and that was starting to be a regular thing for me. So I started smoking weed on the daily. I started smoking weed before school. I started smoking weed at school. I started skipping school to smoke weed. I started to smoke weed in the parking lot at school. Just all different kinds of things like that. I was very rebellious. When I was growing up, I didn't have a whole lot of connection with my parents. My mother left my father when I was very young. We traveled around a lot. We finally ended up in St. Augustine. I had failure to thrive for the first 4 years of my life. I don't know the whole details. I don't really remember that part of my life. I have some vague memories, but nothing substantial. I'm not here to point any fingers at anybody. I pray for my parents. I pray that they will come into the faith. And, I can't really say anything bad about them. It is what it is. So, regardless of that, I made my own decisions. I chose to rebel. I chose to do drugs, whether or not my brothers and the older kids around me were an influence. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I made my decisions. And by the time I was 15, 16, I was smoking pot every day. I was getting high every day. I ended up joining the military when I was between my junior and senior year of high school. I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for a boot camp. I spent the whole summer out there. I was 17 years old. I came back from boot camp and finished my senior year of high school. In that time, the school that I was going to was basically you're either redneck or black. And there were some other cliques and whatnot, but for the most part. So the people that I were hanging out with, we were getting basically like the whole school to do like the Heil Hitler salute, the white power salute. It was a huge problem. By that time, I had already checked out of school. I had no intentions of really trying to pursue the career path that I had really wanted to do. Even though in the military I had gotten my job that I really wanted. I wanted to be a combat field medic. I had my MOS changed to a 92 whiskey, which is a field medic. Um, Needless to say, I got in trouble in high school. I went to juvenile jail for 30 days while I was in the Army. Nobody said anything. I was on probation while I was in the Army. Nobody said anything. I was breaking into cars in high school, stealing from stores in high school. Got arrested at school twice. Um, Never really gotten in any trouble besides the jail time and probation. Wasn't a big deal for me. Um, so I ended up going AWOL from the Army when I was 18. I was in the nursing program at the local community college, and I ended up basically going to college for 3 weeks. On my third week, I went for one day, and I didn't even go to class. Me and my friend Craig, we would meet up and go to our spot and just get high. I had sold weed for a few years by now. I knew a lot of people, sold weed and drugs to a lot of people, and I really had got involved into that lifestyle, even though I had lots of potential still to do great things, to leave that stuff behind and pursue a career in the military, to pursue a career in the nursing program, and just to see where that led. But I chose the drug life. I chose to rebel. I went AWOL from the military. I left here. I was stationed in at NAS Jacksonville, and my unit was a motor pool attached to a hospital unit. We were talking about getting deployed, but I left. I really wanted to go to war. I really did. I felt like I would have been great. But I left. I went AWOL. I went to Denver, Colorado. So showed up basically at my brother's, not doorstep, but basically made him take me in, and just caused problems for him. I ended up robbing my grandmother, which I didn't know. It wasn't her house. It was a cousin's house. I ended up catching a robbery charge, a felony charge, and I left Denver. I came back to Florida. I lived with my father that I had just met when I turned 18. I lived with him for a few months. He was an old Vietnam vet. We got into a fist fight, and that was it. After I had kind of evaded the law on the felony charge out in Colorado, I was down here. I had some new cousins that I had met, some new family members. I lived with them. I joined some gangs. I started taking Xanax. I started using cocaine more. I ended up staying on Xanax for 7 years. Things got crazy in Orlando with the gang activity, so I ended up leaving. I ended up coming back to St. Augustine. My mother and my stepdad had come back to get me. My stepdad Richard. He has really been the one person in my life who has been there for me always, no matter what. I stole from him so many times. He had a CD in a coffee shop, and me and my brothers just stole from him, traded CDs for weed, just crazy stuff. So I ended up moving back to St. Augustine. I was really bad on Xanax, really bad. I started selling cocaine a lot, started selling ecstasy, other drugs like that a lot. I was constantly robbing from people. The Xanax turned me into a complete kleptomaniac. Complete. I would rob everybody. Everybody I knew, I robbed them in one way or another. If it was stealing drugs, if it was stealing stuff from a store, stupid stuff, absolutely ridiculous. Me and this other guy, I mean, if you were to see me and this other guy together, you knew we were trouble. This guy he was crazy. He would shoot up cocaine and put brass knuckles on and just go beat people. This dude he was huge, and surprised he didn't kill anybody. Anyways, we got caught. We got kicked out of a CVS for stealing a cartoon movie. Like, just absolutely ridiculous things. So the Xanax I was on for 7 years, I was taking 10 to 15 milligrams at a time, sometimes less if there wasn't enough around. sometimes more. I took up to 50 milligrams in one night. Um, just constantly stealing from people, moving from place to place, selling drugs that you don't want to stay in one place for too long. I had multiple places that I lived in. I had one time I had a trailer that I was renting with a friend, and I was away from the location at the time, and someone pulled up to my home and told me that there was 40 cop cars at my house. They weren't lying. I had some marijuana plants growing in the back of my house. They were ripped out when I came back. I snuck in as I'm filling up trash bags full of paraphernalia and drugs. Undercover detectives roll out from the back of the neighborhood. I was on the police's radar for years, and I knew some pretty high up people, some people that you don't want to mess with, some people that definitely you do not want to play with at all. So I eventually I had ran into the law quite a few times. I got a DUI on my birthday one year when I was 23. Did a little bit of jail time. I had been caught driving on suspended license, things like that, minor offenses. I had 5 or 6, 7, 8 misdemeanors in total. But I had many run-ins with the law, a lot of close calls, a lot of evasions, and I kept reappearing and reappearing, and I was careless, I was reckless, I didn't care. I just did what I wanted to do, and I just wanted to get high. I wanted to get other people high, and I wanted to sell drugs. So at one point, there was some meth activity that was going on, and meth activity all over St. Augustine. But I was not personally involved in it, but I was in the vicinity of people that were personally involved in it. And so there was a lot of police activity that came about my way from those actions. And I ended up getting a wire warrant on me and some audio tapes multiple times where I had been set up. I wasn't aware. I would pretty much deal to anybody. It wasn't a problem for me. I didn't have an issue. I dealt with firearms, so I wasn't really intimidated by anyone. I didn't let anybody intimidate me. I knew a lot of people, and the people that I knew that that were my connects, like I said, if I ever had a problem, I didn't have a problem. So I used those things to my advantage, but I was careless. I was stupid, and I mean it's the drug game. It is what it is. So things caught up to me. I had during these meth busts, I had people come in ski masks with the badges hanging around their neck, and they would come to me and they would find me where I was living. I would try to evade them, but they would find me, and they would continually put me in handcuffs and take me to the lighthouse to try to get me, basically interrogate me, and to giving up my connects. And over and over again, multiple times, I just would not give them anything. I didn't have anything to give them because I didn't believe that they had anything on me. And regardless of that, I would not snitch on my people. That's just not who I am. And knowing who they are, yeah. So I evaded these people for months. Probably about a year and a half total. And it was strange because this was like basically the DEA. And I would have house parties. Me and a roommate, we would have house parties with like 20 or 30 people or more in a little 2-bedroom apartment. And we would have the, St. Augustine beach cops called on us constantly. They were at our house like every night. And never had any problems with them. It was really weird. Very weird. We never got in trouble. It was just, hey, these people got to go. Even though this DEA group was building a case and had been building a case on me for a while. But they really wanted the people that I knew. So as time progressed, I just kept stealing from people. That eventually is what got me arrested for the last time. Um, I had got out of the military. I actually had gotten an honorable discharge, if you can believe that. Go figure. So I still get my 10% off at Lowe's. So yeah, I held jobs for a few months, and I would quit and go find another job and just work a little bit, do the same thing over and over. But the last time that I got arrested, I ended up stealing some stuff from some people, and the police came to my house and they caught me. That was it. They put me in cuffs and took me in. And a little bit before that, I had a friend that looked like me, and he had got pulled over on the way to where I was staying, and he had some marijuana on him. They took his weed, and they were U.S. Marshals. So I had literally had basically Florida's DEA, U.S. Marshals. I mean, just crazy agencies building a case and looking for me. I had no clue. But so eventually I got arrested. I had 5 felonies. I had a sale of marijuana from the videotapes. I had a possession with intent to sell. I had possession of a controlled substance. When they arrested me, I had Xanax on me. I don't know how they didn't catch me with more charges. I had a smuggling contraband charge, and I had a grand theft charge. I had gotten high on a lot of Xanax with somebody, and where he lived with his grandparents. He passed out. I went in and robbed his grandparents. They were on vacation. So it's a good thing they didn't find some other things that I had stolen. Like I said, I had dealt with a lot of firearms. So anyways, I'm sitting in jail. I've been on Xanax 7 years. Very, very hard. That stuff can kill you if you, obviously, if you take too much. I was taking way too much. I was 110 pounds when I got arrested. It's a miracle. Really is a miracle that I did not die. Little side note, I was I guess an atheist. My best friend was an atheist. He would have these big long debates, and I didn't get into it. I didn't care. I just told people I can't wait to die so I can go to hell and smoke weed with Satan. That was just my mentality. So anyways, I'm sitting in jail. I literally slept for 3 months because I was on Xanax for so long. I slept for 3 months. I would get up to eat, and that's about it. The guy who slept below me, Frenchie, I love you, bro, handed me a Bible one day. And really, the only time I'd ever picked up a Bible was to rip the pages out and smoke weed. So I would hotel hop a lot, and I would normally rip out the blank page from the Gideon's Bible, but sometimes I would rip out page 420 and smoke it, is what it is. So he handed me a Bible, and I was just like, I don't know, man. And he's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you doing, bro? You've, I was 24, 25, maybe 25. And he was like, you're a smart dude, man. What are you doing in here? Are you going to keep coming back? Are you going to stay in here? Like, seriously, what are you doing? You're going to prison. And I hadn't really thought about that at that time. I hadn't really thought about going to prison or what the outcome of this would be. I had gotten away and just got a slap on the wrist with so many different things. So many different things. This is the time I literally could have gotten caught a million times before. I should have like a long list of felony charges. I really should. But I've got 5. I only think I got convicted of 4. So, and I pled guilty. So I ended up pleading guilty to those 4 charges. I got sentenced for almost 2 years in prison. I actually had got resentenced on my grand theft charge, so I had to do a little bit more time. I would have gotten out a little bit earlier. But the crazy thing is just this guy handed me a Bible, and I read it. I didn't really think about it. I just picked it up and started to read it. And I was like, I'm just going to give this thing a shot. And I didn't have any people around to say, start in John and then go to Matthew. Or I started in Genesis. I read the Bible from front pretty much all the way to the back. I skipped some books and I got caught on a lot of books. But the point is I literally was the scum of the earth. I corrupted so many people. I just destroyed so many relationships, so much trust in people. People, if you mention my name to some people in St. Augustine, they would want to pull out a knife. Like, I literally had people that hate me. I'm sure I still do. I'm sure there's still people out there that absolutely hate me. And the scripture says, don't hate your brother without a cause. These people have a cause to hate me. So they're not guilty of murder. They literally do have a very good reason to hate me. I mean, they don't know me now, but I mean, I've destroyed property, I've stolen cars, like I've robbed a whole half of a auto store. I mean, just the list goes on. Like I was horrible. I was a horrible person to know. I was either gonna give you drugs, or I was gonna straight up rob you, and whatever. Young girls, forget it. They're corrupted. Friends, forget it. Everybody's on drugs. My little brother, James, I love you, brother. I'm sorry that I brought you into the drug life. I really am, because I did that. Same way that my older brothers brought me into it, I brought my little brother into it, and I got him to smoke weed for the first time, and that progressed, and it's still, I love you, James. But anyways, so I did almost 2 years in prison. I really had God on my side, for sure. I had angels around me. There had to have been. I was young, and I was a young white boy. I'm 33 now. Imagine how I look 25 without a beard. I look like I'm 17, all right? And little white boys, I'm 5'4". I was 160 pounds. I mean, I've had a black belt since I was 13. I've been in the military, so I know how to hold myself. So, no, I never had any problems with people. But at the same time, a person like me is victimized in prison, taken advantage of, literally taken advantage of. So I had people that looked out for me like crazy. You wouldn't believe it. I made friends everywhere I went in prison. I had friends everywhere I went in prison. I knew so many people. It's crazy. I had a friend that was a roommate who I stole a bunch of Xanax from one night when I did the 50 milligrams, Brandon. He went from prison to prison to prison with me, like in the same rooms. Like, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? It's crazy. So I knew so many people in prison. I was friends everywhere I went. Like, the people that were the crazy people in prison were like, yo, you're like my little brother. If anybody gives you problems, like, I'm handling that for you. So I had people that just had my back the whole time. It was crazy. I mean, it only lasted for almost 2 years, but still, it's crazy. But anyways, so I got out of prison, had 3 years of probation. All I did was read the Bible. And God really just revealed so much stuff to me. Within 3 weeks of reading the Bible, I had been like leading Bible studies in the jail and teaching kids how to read the Bible. It was just from right away, everything, the light just went on and everything just clicked into place. And my whole life just completely shifted. Now, I wasn't made perfect yet because I hadn't walked this thing out before. I was stuck in prison. It's a whole lot different when you get out into the free world. So I'm trying to live a life that I barely knew how to live. I saw it on paper, but I didn't know how to live it out. So I got back into the drug game a little bit. Some things happened. Some things happened. I'm not going to go into details. But some things happened, and I ended up having to get back into the drugs for a little bit. So I ended up using again for a little bit. I failed a drug test for my probation. I almost ran because I knew that I was going to go back. But I confessed that I had been using, and my probation officer recommended me for an outpatient drug program. I met some cool people in there. couple Christian rappers, and so I did the program 3 months, and I'm gone. I left St. Augustine. I said I gotta get up out of here. I know way too many people, and I gotta go. This place is done for me. So I moved to Orlando, where my father lives and my stepmother. I lived with them for a little bit. Started to get my own stuff together. I started a tile business. I got married. I was doing a job for a lady, and she put me through Bible college, where I met my wife. Um, I started my company. I've had my tile company for 5 years now. It's going strong. I'm busy. I've employed many people. Nobody lasts because it's hard work and people don't like to work hard. I got one kid now, good kid. He's at a sober house. So I'm using my business to spread the message, spread the gospel, and to help people. If you need a job, 9 out of 10, I will put you on. But 9 out of 10, you're not going to last because it's hard work, and I don't play around when it comes to work because I live my life straight up slack. So I'm making up for it by busting my butt now. I've got 2 daughters. My oldest is Eliana, my youngest is Soraya, and they are 10 months apart. So my wife was, bless her, she was pregnant for almost 2 years, and my oldest is 2.5. So it's been very rough the last few years. We've been married for like 4 years now, coming up next month, and it is what it is. It's amazing, but just from where I'm at now to where I was, it's crazy. Like, people that know me then and don't really know me now, and the people that know me now don't really know me then. So it's kind of hard to portray this to a lot of people, but which is one reason why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to share it to people that I know that are in the church, and just friends that, people that I know that don't really know me. So we take people at face value a lot, and we don't really get to know people. And it's sad. We have a very busy culture, and I hate it. It's that Babylon system. Everybody's stuck, and it's very hard to come out of. So make yourself available for people. That's the worst thing in our culture, in the church. Nobody wants to make themselves available for other people. If you can't do that, I'm constantly trying to make myself available for other people. Always. I am the one to reach out and say, what's up? Nobody reaches out to me to say, what's up? So it is what it is. I'll just try to keep on keeping on. I literally don't have very many friends, but it's that's been a challenge for me as a believer. I've come a long way as a believer. I was in some Assemblies of God churches, and the theology and stuff is off. The practice is off. Church and Christianity in itself is off. There's definitely more videos coming on that topic. But just personally, I've grown so much as a believer. So much. I've come a very, very long way as a believer. Not even as a person in whole is completely 180 change, but as a believer, it's also a complete 180 change. If you're not constantly growing, if you're not constantly learning and becoming more knowledgeable and becoming closer to God, that's how you become close to God. God's not here. He's just not, right? I mean, we can worship him and feel close to him, and we can walk with him and hope that we can have that connection with him. But ultimately, it's in the Word. When I moved here to Orlando, I would come home from work and I would work out and pray and read the Bible for 8 hours. That's all I did. I had such a strong connection with God, and it's with the family and the work and everything. And that's it's very sad to say that's taken a decline, but I do believe I'm in the will of God. I'm doing what God wants me to do, more so now than ever. And that's one of my biggest struggles, is just to separate time for him. So if you want to pray for me, you could pray for that. Help me to make my connection, my relationship with God, stronger than it's ever been. But at the same time, I'm constantly learning. I'm constantly growing in him. It's just that secret time that I really need, that I really miss. So if you want to pray for me, please pray for that. So, yeah, I really was the scum of the earth. I was trash. I had great potential. I was smart. I set my mind to do things and I did it, which is why I did drugs, because that's what I had set my mind to do. Um, I, I don't really want to say anything more about the drugs stuff. Like, it's bad. It really was bad. I was horrible. I was a horrible person. I'm sorry to all you people out there that know me and that you were part of my life then. It was just horrible. But now it's completely changed, and it only came from God. It really only came from Yah, came from Jesus, it came from the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, changing my heart, giving me the faith, giving me the repentance, giving me the motivation to do what's right, to be obedient. All that came from Him. I couldn't do it on my own, and that's where I'm at today. I'm a completely changed person. I have no desire to get high. I have no desire to do drugs. It. I don't. You go to these the NAAA groups, and everybody's still addicted. I'm not addicted anymore. You can be set free. That's the whole point of the gospel: to be redeemed, to be set free. He came to release the prisoners of the devil, to set people free. That's the message of the gospel. To be saved eternally, yes, but to be set free now, to be saved now. And that's where I'm at. I've been set free. I've been saved. And I will be saved. And that can happen to you too. So if you're struggling with stuff, hit me up. JesusFollower1986 at Gmail. 321-315-9624. Hit me up. I don't care. Like I said, I make myself available. If you don't make yourself available for other people, you're not fulfilling. You're not doing the will of God. So make yourself available and share your testimonies. This is the reason for believing. This is why I believe what I believe, because God has changed my life. So many people out there just say, oh, I'm a Christian. That's why I don't even call myself a Christian. It's played out. But if you're gonna do something, do it with all your heart. If you're gonna be involved with God, love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength. Do everything for Him. You can say what you want about these things, but not trying to show off the muscles. I can do that later. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I put myself out there. I got stuff all over my truck now. I've had stuff all over my vehicles. Every vehicle I've had since I've been a believer. I wear the clothing, and I'm not trying to score brownie points with God. I make myself available for the world, because I get people that pull me over and be like, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to know what's going on with you. The sister that put me in Bible college was like, yo, what's up with those tattoos? What's going on with your car? You got scriptures all over your car, and you got Jesus all over your body. What's up? And I use that stuff for witnessing. You can say what you want. My conscience is clear. Anyways, I love you guys. This has been my reason for believing in Jesus Christ. He changed my life. It was nothing that I did. If I really had it my way, be out in the streets. Even if I had a family and the business and everything that I have now, I'd still be smoking weed and taking Xanax. I would, even if I was sneaking it. That's just me. But literally, that's not me anymore. That man has been crucified with Christ. It's nevertheless I live, but it's not me, it's Him who lives in me. So I give Him all the glory. I give Him all the glory. I praise Him. He's changed me. He set me free. And you can have that too. So this is my reason for believing in Jesus.